Now, an annual cultural event in the Oromia region of Ethiopia turned deadly on Sunday when police fired tear gas and warning shots to disperse anti-government protesters. The tragedy occurred in Bishoftu, located about 40 kilometers southeast of Addis Ababa. Witnesses told VOA the audience at the Irech festival was angered during the speech of an Oromo traditional leader known as the Abba Gada, and objected to a display of the Ethiopian government flag near the stage. A group of young people rushed the stage and tried to remove the flag, and security forces responded by beating the protesters. Soldiers fired tear gas and people panicked and ran for safety. Many people fleeing the scene ran into deep ditches near the festival site and were stampeded. Local officials reported that at least 52 people were killed, but witnesses say at least 100 people lost their lives. Now, tensions have been high between the Oromo people and the federal government during the past year. Oromo protesters were angered last November by a plan to expand the limits of the capital city, which encroached on the farmlands and regional government of the Oromo people. Now, for more insight into the tragedy, I'm joined by Mohammed Ademo. He's a journalist and founder of allpride.com. That's a multimedia website that aggregates Oromo, Ethiopian, and Horn-related news. Mr. Ademo, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you for having me.
Now, first, really a sad event. But this is not the first time people are dying in that region, right?
Yes, this is probably the darkest hour in contemporary Oromo history, in Ethiopian history, in the sense that we have never seen anything like this at a cultural event where peace and love and harmony, people pray for peace, love and harmony, is unique in that sense.
Yeah.
But the killings have been going on for the past 11 months, and they're not new. It's just a continuation of what has been going on, and events in Ethiopia really coming to a head and reaching a point of no return, where people are just tired of being killed, and they're being killed on the streets, they're being killed in their houses, and they're being killed in their schools. Now they're being killed at sacred lands, at spaces where they went to pray for peace, and they want to celebrate their culture, their heritage. These are very special moments, and they're being killed.
Now, some people may say this was partially an accident, in that there was no intention of killing anybody, but, a stampede occurred because of a protest against putting a flag on the stage. Why is that flag a very sensitive thing to the people of Oromia region?
Let me first say that this was clearly not an accident. And you have 2 million people in a very crowded, very small place. On one side you have a lake, on the other side you have ditches and cliffs. And you fire tear gas in warning shots at a crowd that is angry, crowd that was passionately chanting and protesting all day. You should expect the result. In the best way to crowd control people, 2 million people in that space, very small space. I've been there myself 3 times in the past. This is not an accident, and it was a crowd control that gone bad at the best case scenario. On the worst case scenario, this is pre-planned, because the government has said that they expected the protest to continue at the Erecha. They they expected this to happen, but they planned and brought in helicopters were flying above the crowd at a very low height all day long. There were tanks on the street. There were armored vehicles on the side of the street. So they clearly planned for this. And people who were there are saying that the number of security forces on that stage, around that stage, around the crowd, is almost as many as the crowd that was gathered there.
That is very disturbing.
So it is very hard for me to sit here and say that this was an accident.
And now you're talking about, like millions of people, or at least hundreds of thousands of people. This number, 52 or 100, is that going to be the final number of people who have died in this event?
Look, in the past 11 months, activists have reported, and we have names of about 1,000 people who've been killed in Oromia state alone. And the government has admitted to almost about 170 of that. So the government number is a window, is a smoke screen. What we are hearing from doctors and health workers who were at the hospital where some of these victims were taken, they've counted at least 300 people, 300 dead bodies from this event. So the number the activists that are putting out now is about 500, more than 500. And as you've seen, if you've seen the news this morning, there are people still being pulled out of the ditches, and people are still being pulled out of the cliffs. So this is going to rise, and the number is going to rise. And it's not only that. And this is a very ancient lake, and it is very deep, and there are historical facts around it. And there are people who actually fell into the lake.
The lake itself.
In the fate of those, we may never even know. They may never be accounted for.
Really sad, and we'll continue covering this and updating, and probably we'll call on you to kind of give us some more information as you get it. Thanks a lot, Mohammed.
Thank you for having me.